Developing tonight, a federal judge has temporarily banned federal officers at Portland's ICE building from using things like tear gas and pepper balls against protesters, at least in most circumstances. Alma McCarty breaks down the ruling and reaction.
The indiscriminate use of pepper balls, tear gas, and other chemical irritants by federal officers banned, unless the person they're targeting, quote, poses an imminent threat of physical harm to officers or others. Those restrictions handed down by a federal judge in a temporary restraining order Tuesday.
I can't personally think of a single court order that the administration has followed yet. I don't believe it's going to make a difference, but I sure hope it does.
This order comes just days after federal officers fired tear gas and set off flashbang grenades into a large crowd of hundreds of peaceful protesters over the weekend. Among those caught in the fray, Joseph Apoka and Tamsin Johansson.
No warning at all. Nope, they just opened the gates, told everyone to start pushing back with their hand signals, which we all started doing, and then they just started launching tear gas and shooting at us anyway.
These are considered to be, non-lethal forces, but I want to offer that, what happened to our flag was at most 12 inches from my head at most. If that had hit my head, would my face look like that flag?
Homeland Security defending their response, characterizing demonstrators as rioters who violently stormed the ICE facility. The TRO went into effect immediately and stems from a lawsuit filed last year alleging First Amendment violations and excessive force. One of the plaintiffs, Jack Dickinson, known as the Portland Chicken.
There's been these really big fluctuations in terms of periods of really intense violence from the agents, lots of chemical munitions deployed, and then we'll go a month where it's 15 people a night and the energy is much more diminished.
But following the events of the past 2 weeks, he says there's an upswing in action and a need for this order.
You could argue that there's enough wiggle room in this one that they could kind of justify anything as a threat. At least now it's going to make them think twice about doing it. And if they decide that they don't want to follow this order, we'll be able to hopefully quickly follow it up with some action.
When asked for a statement on the judge's order, Assistant DHS Secretary Tricia McLaughlin said, in part, despite grave threats and dangerous situations, our law enforcement has followed their training and used the minimum amount of force necessary to protect themselves, the public, and federal property. No word yet on whether the federal government will appeal. The temporary restraining order runs for 14 days. David.
Alma McCarty in the newsroom tonight. Thanks, Alma.